Thanks for tuning in to the Christ Community Church message today. You're about to hear a message from the series Flourish. Flourish will reveal unconventional wisdom for living a life that is deeper, richer, simpler, and more beautiful. Now, if this ministry has blessed you in any way, we'd love to hear about it. Email us at online@cccomaha.org with your story. Also, if you'd like to give financially, go online to my.cccomaha.org where you can make a donation. Thank you so much for your prayer and financial support, which helps us in blessing thousands all around the world. Thanks again. And now, the message.
And, as I come to talk with you this morning, I hope you know that I consider all of you to be my friends, my family, my flock, the people who I get the privilege of doing life with and caring for. And when I come to talk to you on a Sunday morning, I come to talk to you as someone who just wants the very best for you, who wants for you to flourish. Just like I want my kids to flourish and try and point them in the right direction, give them good advice, so I want the same thing for everybody at Christ Community Church. And as you've been watching the series over the last 4 weeks, my hope is that you found that you flourish in simplicity. That's one of the sub-themes, hopefully, that you've heard throughout the last 4 weeks. You flourish in simplicity. Our culture, the American culture, will drive you towards busyness, towards accumulation, towards activity, towards stimulation. And if you follow that with reckless abandon, you'll wind up just buried in stuff. So we've been talking all month about taking stuff out of your life to make room for important things. Take out commitments that actually drain you. Take out one day a week to focus on God. Take out overachievement and perfectionism. Take out religion and instead make room for life, make room for God, make room for reflection, for prayer. The gospel is all about flourishing. When Jesus came, as we've been reading Isaiah 55, we've been finding it's all about flourishing. It's about individual renewal, and it's about a kingdom that changes everything. So we've had 4 messages that we've been talking about this, and these 4 messages could be knocked out as 4 S words in a row. First is the spiritual side of flourishing. The idea that when Jesus came into this world, he came to revolutionize your life, forgive your past, give you hope for a future, and turn you into a kingdom that's there to heal the nations, that's there to heal the world. And then the next part of flourishing is managing your schedule, making the right kinds of priorities so that you've got room for all the things that will help you to flourish. And the third was about Sabbath, having one day a week that's set aside for worshiping God and for rest. And now this 4th week, we're going to tackle the subject of stuff. Stuff. Your challenge is going to be around stuff. How do we simplify stuff in order to make room for flourishing? I was thinking about this a little bit a few weeks ago when we went on our family vacation. Some of you know that every year it's an annual tradition for us to go up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to go to a camp that we've been heading towards for about 25 years in a row. I don't think I've ever described you the room that we stay in that camp, though. It's a 12-foot by 12-foot square room, which all 6 of us stay in together. With 6 beds and 2 dressers, each of us gets 1 or 2 drawers. The showers are down the hall, 1 garbage can that's in there, and we share that tiny space, all 6 of us, for 1 week. Further, there's no electronics, no DVD players, no computers. Cell phone coverage is really bad. Like if you stand at the right place with your arm in the air, you can get coverage, those kinds of places. The place is just full of beaches and trails and books and people. Sounds kind of lame, doesn't it? But when my family goes there, they're perfectly content. They love being there. In fact, at the end of the week, they beg us to come back the next year. And we go year after year because all of the things that put us on edge in our driven American culture are gone, and it becomes super clear to us that flourishing has no connection with stuff. Those things just aren't connected to each other. So we're going to talk about simplifying a little bit today. And before I go there, I have to give you a hypocrisy alert. You know what I mean by that? Like, this is an issue that I struggle with too. There are some messages that I give to you as a pastor that I feel like I got that pretty well under control. Priorities we do pretty well in our family. There's things with Sabbathing we do pretty well in our family. But when it comes to stuff, it's a perpetual battle. And we're still trying to get that stuff worked out. So I'm preaching to myself as well as to all of you. I just want to put that caveat out there. I'm also well aware that as I preach on simplicity, I'm looking at an iPad holding an iPhone that's doubling as a clicker with a plasma screen right behind me. All this simplicity in our life. And you wonder, why is this such a battle? And one reason I think is 5,000 ads that Americans are bombarded with every single day. Each one of those ads that's designed to make you feel like you're not good enough, you don't own enough, your status is too low, you don't look pretty enough, you don't smell manly enough, and your neighbors think you're a total loser. But I can solve all that with my $9.99 product for you if you just buy today. 5,000 messages you get every day, and the counterbalance for all those 5,000 messages is one message that you get once a year for 30 minutes on a Sunday morning. But the truth of the matter is, despite the weight of the messages, stuff does not improve life. In fact, the more stuff you own, the more your stuff owns you. Have you ever been in the position where you're spending time managing stuff, fixing stuff, cleaning out closets, putting stuff together, and you would rather be spending that time with people rather than your things? If you have, that's an indicator that your stuff has gone overboard. Have you ever considered the promise from Apple that technology will simplify your electronic world? It'll multiply your digital universe and make everything easier. You remember that about 10 years ago? Now you have iPods, iPads, iTunes, iPhone, iCloud, iHop, and I can't keep up with it all anymore. In my house, we've got 6 people with their electronic devices, and I'm the family tech guy. And some nights I go home managing our technological world and wonder, where did simplify my electronic world go? I get to the place sometimes where my stuff owns me. So we'll be considering some wisdom from Ecclesiastes as we approach things today. Here's the first verse. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 5. We'll be in Ecclesiastes 5 all morning, beginning at verse 10. If you want to turn in your Bibles, that would be the place to turn. Ecclesiastes 5:10 says, "Whoever loves money never has enough, and whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income." So I want to pose a really challenging question today. What is enough? What is enough? And what is excess? You may note that this verse is a lot like a similar one in the New Testament that's much more famous, that says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And in both of these passages, you'll notice that the problem is loving money. It's not the volume of money you have. It's not whether you're wealthy or poor. It's the love of money. You can be very wealthy and love money. You can be quite poor and love money, and it's problematic in both cases. You can be very wealthy and be content, and very poor and be content, and it's not problematic in both cases. What drives your need for more is the love of money that makes it so that it's never enough. And you would think that if you can determine an enough level and hold yourself at that level, that would be an indicator that you don't love money. So we're going to talk a little bit about enough. As I think about enough, enough is a moving target. You ever notice that? Enough is elusive. If you chase enough, enough is fast. If you catch enough, enough has moved. If enough is ambiguous, enough is never enough. So what is enough, and how do you beat it? I think in order to beat enough, you have to name it and define it. But before we go towards defining enough, I want to define what is rich. Okay, what is rich? And we're going to do this with a pop quiz, okay? Pop quiz is this. I want you to turn to your neighbor in just a sec and tell me what dollar amount you think would put you in the 99th percentile of worldwide wealth. What that means is that 1% of the world makes more money than you, 1% of the world makes less. 99% makes less. Okay, that's of family income. How much do you think puts you in the 99th percentile? And then turn and say, what do you think puts you in the 85th percentile? Like 85, you're richer than 85% of the world, but 15% is richer than you. Okay, turn to your neighbor and tell them what you think those dollar numbers are for family income. Go. All right, you ready for the answers? Here we go. The 99th percent of worldwide wealth. If you earn this, you're in the top 1% of the world. $50,000. $50,000. That I actually knew pretty well beforehand. This was the one that shocked me. You're in the top 85% of the world if you earn $2,500 a year. $2,500 a year. Now, the average Nebraskan earns $53,000 a year, the average Nebraska family. And so if we're just looking out at the crowd that we see right here, the likelihood is that more than half of you are in the top 1% of the world's wealth. What that means is, I am rich, and most of you are as well. And rich people have rich people problems. It's a phrase that was coined by Andy Stanley from Atlanta, Georgia, and it's been a very helpful paradigm in thinking through problems that we have as rich people. So many of the problems we work through are not even problems for people that don't have money. For example, this is a rich people problem. Running out of paper, wrapping paper to wrap gifts. Okay, rich people problem. Figuring out where to put the money that you're saving for your kids' college. Rich people problem. Doing financial or estate planning because you're going to run out of time before you run out of money. Throwing away food because it's spoiled before you could eat it. It's a rich people problem. Replacing the electric door opener for your garage. Or how about this one? Fighting with your family about how to use the weeks that you will get paid for not showing up to work. Rich people problem. And Ecclesiastes has some great insight on the rich, which makes it pretty poignant for all of us. Let's take a look at what Ecclesiastes says. Heading on into verse 11. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? This is really true. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. For example, if there's someone who is a business person that's succeeding in a booming business, employees will show up to help boost that business and help it to go well because there's finances that are available there. If someone's spending a lot of money, there are plenty of people out there that will want to sell them something that they can spend their money on. If a country is wealthy and their goods are increasing, immigration will take place and people will move to where the goods are. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. It continues on. The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. There are certain stressors that hit rich people who manage a lot of stuff and a lot of people that don't hit somebody who is a laborer. So the laborer sleeps well. The rich person has some stress that keeps them from sleeping. He says, I've seen a grievous evil under the sun, wealth hoarded to the harm of its owners, or wealth lost through some misfortune. So that when they have children, there is nothing left for them to inherit. Everyone comes from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. I missed a word there. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb. It's always fun to say naked in church. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil that they can carry in their hands. So from this passage, there's a couple of important other things to learn. One we see is that hoarding is a grievous evil, and it harms, interestingly in this passage, it harms the owner. There's something about accumulating and keeping an ever-increasing amount of stuff that's damaging to the soul of the owner. That in fact you will flourish more if you have less stuff. And he points out that you leave the world just as naked as when you came into this world. So the value of all of the stuff that you own is only its value in this world. There is no eternal value in accumulating or making or getting or keeping the stuff in this world. So given that, and given our place on the totem pole of wealth in this world, how do you find enough? What is enough? Well, the answer to this question is not so simple. And I'm not going to let you off the hook by defining it for you. It would be way too easy and way too controversial for me to give you a dollar value for the enough level. Instead, I want to give you the question, what is enough? And have you wrestle with it in painful ways for the rest of your life. Because the Bible doesn't give an income level that is enough. Some have higher income, some have lower income. Some have higher needs, some have lower needs. Some have figured out how to generate massive resources for themselves, their businesses, their employees, and generously give it to the poor and for the kingdom. And these folks might have different enough levels than other people have. But let me do something that I think will be helpful and is possible to do. Let's talk about excess. Okay, let's talk about excess. Here's a definition for excess. Excess is that thing is a formal definition here, that thing we could give away today and it would not change a single aspect of our tomorrow. What is that thing? Well, when I think about this, the economist in me just kind of jumps out of the seat. Many of you know I majored in economics in college, and one of the things we learned is the law of diminishing returns. That is, for any product or service that you get, the first product that you get has the highest pleasure value. So P is for pleasure here, not for price. Q is for quantity. And the more of them you get, the less pleasure you get out of each successive item. For example, chocolate chip cookies, right? You get a warm, gooey chocolate chip cookie. You take that first bite and you get maximum pleasure from it, right? The Ashton rule of chocolate chip cookies is that the dough is only there to hold the chips together. And so that's, you get high pleasure. And then the next chocolate chip cookie is still good, chocolate chip cookie. Next one's good, but not as good, a little bit less, until you hit the point where you go, I'm fine. Yeah, I don't need any more chocolate chip cookies right now. And then your pleasure value is 0. But let's just say that there was someone who is forcing you to eat chocolate chip cookies, and even after you're fine, they say you have to eat 1 more, 2 more, 3 more. Well, your pleasure graph would go like this. It would head into the negatives. You would have one where you say, that sweet taste is just overwhelming right now. I'm getting kind of a buzz in my head. And then you'll have queasy in your stomach. And finally, you'll get to a place where you are vomiting chocolate chip cookies. It's very bad. You say, there's no pleasure in any of this going on. So when you ask yourself the question, where do we hit the point of excess in the chocolate chip cookie world? It's right here. You are clearly in excess when you are getting negative pleasure out of the things that you have. And you can apply this to pretty much anything in your life. I mean, you can apply this to having too many clothes, or you can have, in your life, you can have too many cars, or you can have too many tools. Well, I've never actually seen that before, but theoretically it's possible that you could have too many tools that you're working with in your garage. But these things can push you over the edge. And when you look at it this way, you go, it should be a no-brainer for all of us to simply get rid of our excess. That when you're beyond that enough level, when you've gotten every bit of pleasure you can, you give away the rest because it actually winds up hurting you. And that when you get rid of stuff, you flourish. You're just better off. It's not sacrifice or painful. You're just better off to get rid of that stuff. But the bonus is that others flourish as well. Because step 1 is isolating your stuff. Step 2 is giving it away. You can give it to a struggling person in your small group. You can sell it on eBay and give the money to a single mom. You can bring it to Goodwill or bring it to the Open Door Mission. Because when you do, everybody wins. Here's what happens. This next item of stuff that was causing you pain when you give it away might be the very first item of stuff that somebody else gets. All of a sudden, they've got huge pleasure. So you win, and they win. I remember there was a number of years, Kelly and I were in our accumulation years right after we were married. We had absolutely no money, and if there was someone who had something they could put into this category for us, we just reveled in being able to get the next piece of stuff. When we were first married, we practiced the 3 G's of home furnishing. And the 3 G's for us were stuff, we would furnish our apartment with stuff that was given to us, we found in a garage sale, or that we garbage picked. Okay, 3 G's. And that's how everything was furnished. Our theme was early marriage in our house. And so, there's huge benefits for other people. But there's also huge warnings all over the Bible against hoarding. That it harms you, it harms your soul, it keeps you from experiencing life. And on the flip side, there are promises of blessing from God that when you're generous, when you give stuff away, you live underneath the blessing of God, and those around you flourish, and God's promise is that His blessing hits your life as well. And if you just look at those 3 things, you flourish, others flourish, and God blesses you, why would you not get rid of your stuff? There's great joy in doing this. And when you do that, you're more blessed and the people around you are more blessed. Okay, hopefully this is pretty persuasive, so I'm going to get practical right now and go to the next step. And I'm just going to roll on a single example. The example that I'm going to pick for now is the clothing example, because I think it's something pretty much everybody can relate to. How do you determine your enough level or get rid of excess clothing in your house? Well, people have picked some different systems to figure this out. Some people have decided, I'm just going to make a list of every item. Socks, underwear, t-shirts, hats, suits. What do I need in my closet? And then how many of each of these do I need? And you just think about it and you put a number on it. I think in order to be optimized for socks, I need 20 pairs of socks. Some black, some white, got to make it to laundry day. That would be the optimal amount of flourishing without having too much. And here's the number of t-shirts that I need. Here's the number of dress shirts that I need. And you write them down on a piece of paper before you go and look in your closet. And then you take that paper into your closet and then look and see if you've got any excess that's in there. Compare the number of what you think you would need and then the number that you have. Get rid of the difference, and then a couple months later, go back in your closet and ask yourself, did I miss any of that stuff? Am I at the optimal level? Do I have too much? Do I need a little bit more? Okay, so that's plan one. That's one way to go about doing it. Another way to go about checking out or getting rid of excess that you have, some people decide just to clean out everything in their closet that they haven't worn in the last 12 months. Okay? If I have not worn it in 12 months, I clean it out of my closet. Other people will do that, and then they'll say, for every one item that I buy, I have one item that I give away. Once you've figured out your optimal enough level, you do that. Another strategy that you might use would be the just-in-case strategy. That means for all of the clothes that are in your closet that you have in there for just in case, you get rid of. I did a little bit of cleaning out my closet last night of just-in-case clothes. Here's what I found there. I've got this shirt, just in case the 60s come back into fashion. I got this one, just in case the Huskers win another national championship. I can remember the old ones. I've got this one, just in case Illinois is never number one again. I can remember the year that they were number one. I've got this one, just in case I get invited to sail for the America's Cup team. I got this one just in case there's a Fighting Illini luau that happens in Nebraska. I'll have my orange luau shirt for this. I got this one right here. This kills me. This is just in case I get invited to re-engage with the Glenbard East gymnastics team once again, that they need me back on the squad. So I've got all this stuff here. It's all there. It's in my closet last night, just in case. Do I need this stuff? Okay, let me ask you for real. Do I need this stuff? Sure, yeah, you know what I don't need in my closet. So do the same kind of thing in your closet and get it figured out. And it may not be your closet that's the first place for you to start. Maybe for you it's the nightstand next to your bed. Maybe it's that cabinet underneath the sink. Start somewhere small and then just start cleaning it out and ask yourself the question. The same questions work for all the items in your house, for food, for transportation, for electronics, for golf clubs, for books, for scissors. Do I need this many of this object? Now, people oftentimes realize just how much stuff they have at certain key moments in your life. What's the number one moment you realize how much stuff you have? When you move, that's right. You get these massive boxes of stuff and you ask yourself the question, what was I thinking? Why did I accumulate all this stuff? Another time that I hear is when seniors, parents that are aging, downsize their house to go to, a smaller house or an apartment or a nursing home, and their middle-aged kids are helping them clean out. They're asking their parents, what were you thinking? The parents think, this is heirloom-level stuff. I mean, there's going to come a day when my kids want a 1975 Chia Pet. Parachute pants are coming back in style someday. The truth is they're not. They're not. So bless your kids by getting rid of your stuff. Avoid these moments and just simplify today. There's one more important reason why we should simplify, and that's this reason. Not only do you flourish, others flourish, God blesses you, but you can change the world. As rich people, we have an opportunity that few people on the planet have had. We have a chance to change the world. When you increase the percentage of money that you give away and decrease your own needs for stuff and for hoarding, all of a sudden you have some free income to be able to change the world. You can change a kid's life on the other side of the planet for just about $35 a month, change their education, their food, their clothing, their future. You can get a blanket to a homeless guy and give him warmth and change his whole winter. Together as a congregation, we tackle projects like sacrificing enough money to build a hospital in Mali where 10,000 babies can be safely born. You can train pastors on the other side of the planet by the thousand. You can rehab a house in North Omaha, throw parties for people who just don't get parties, tutor kids who desperately need it. We can do that because we have the excess that's there, and we have the power to govern our lifestyle and move excess towards justice and blessing. You can do that just by choosing it. And you get God's blessing, and others flourish, and you flourish. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I want to finish our Ecclesiastes trip with a few verses that are more unusual. They come in at the end of the chapter, and they actually talk about how it's good to have enough, to be satisfied, and to enjoy your blessing. Check this out. So this is what I've observed to be good, that it's appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life that God has given them, for this is their lot. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift from God. They seldom reflect on the days of their life because God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. Isn't it interesting that the Bible points out that it's not a bad thing to be satisfied and to enjoy the blessings that God has given you? I don't think God wants us running around all the time with rich guy guilt. I think he wants us to flourish. He says, guys, if you want to flourish and you've got excess, give it away. Your life will be better. Their life will be better. The world will be better. He wants us to give our lives away because we'll be better off when we do that. He so loves you. He doesn't want you to be miserable. He wants you to be thriving. He wants you to flourish. So when it comes to these areas we've been talking about, stuff, Sabbath, schedule, spirituality, pursue God, simplify your life, and flourish. You'll make room for life. And that's all I have to say about stuff this morning. But since our series is over, I have one final series application. It's an application that is a reminder for all of you to flourish. I want to ask you, has it bugged anybody that I've got this little marking on my neck this morning? I don't know how many of you have been imagining me in a tattoo parlor with a guy named Donatello and, irons buzzing next to my neck as this comes on. Confession time, this is a temporary tattoo, just temporary. Most of you saw it sitting on your tables there. And grandmas, you can breathe a sigh of relief. I did not get a tattoo on my neck. It's the Hebrew word for flourish. Okay, Hebrew word for flourish. That's what this tattoo is. This word right here, everybody say flourish. And the Hebrew word is cal, Q-A-L. Everyone say cal. Cal. So I've got one of these on my neck. I've got one on my arm as well. Here's what I've been doing. I've been wearing these around for a few days, and every time I notice my tattoo on my arm or every time I look in the mirror and see it on my neck, I ask myself the question, am I flourishing right now, in this moment? Am I connected to Jesus and thriving in the life that he's given me? Am I a member of his kingdom in a way that's making sense to the people around me? Am I managing my life, what I'm doing right now on my schedule? Is this bringing life or depleting life? Am I setting up my life so that I can have a day of Sabbath to rest and worship God? Am I managing my stuff well, or am I sitting in the middle of excess right now in this moment? It's been a good exercise for me, and it's an exercise I want to share with all of you. So you'll see these tattoos, some of them on your seat, some of them at the back entrances. If you're part of our online campus, we will mail you a tattoo. Just give Pastor Robert your mailing address. We'll mail you a tattoo, or just take a Sharpie marker in the mirror and just do this kind of thing. That would work equally well. And I want you to take these tattoos, and I want everybody to do this. Don't freak out because we're doing tattoos in church. It's okay. It's a temporary tattoo. You have my approval. You might turn me into my district superintendent and tell him that we're doing tattoos in church, but he's got a permanent tattoo on his arm, just so you guys know. I won't get busted for that. So you take these little tattoos that you get, and you can peel the plastic off of the tattoo. Got that? Peel the plastic off. Everyone say, peel the plastic off first. Okay, otherwise you'll just put the tattoo on the plastic. Then you take the tattoo, put it on your arm or wherever you're going to put it. Take a moist rag. There are little moist wipies in the outside around the edge of the church. You can just grab one of those before you leave and put this on the place that you want to put it on. Now you want to put it on right side up, because if you put it on upside down, you read it backwards, it says glue on there, and that's a little bit weird. This way it says flourish. It'll remind you that you should be flourishing. So you put that on, and it will last. For me, so far on the neck, it lasts about 2 days. On the wrist, I think it's going to last about a week on there. Of course, it depends on how hard you scrub in the shower. Some middle school kids will have these on for months. Months. Last a little bit longer for some people. But then ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself the flourishing questions about spiritual life, schedule, Sabbath, and stuff. And spend time this week meditating on this idea as you read Isaiah 55 and as you see your little tattoo. So here's the bonus as well. It's a conversation starter. People will ask you about your new ink. Totally. And you can tell them that it's the Hebrew word for flourish. You can say, I'm just spending some time this week focusing on the idea of what is it to flourish in life? What does God teach me about this? And if they're open, maybe they're open, maybe they're not, but if they're open, maybe you'll have the opportunity to talk to them a little bit more about what it means to flourish in Christ. And it'll help you to reflect on your own life. The other cool thing I think about this is that if everybody does it, we have 3,000 people from Christ Community Church walking around Omaha with new tattoos on, and you'll find out that there are people in your world that go to our church that you never knew went to our church. That guy at the checkout line or the waitress or someone at your office, a kid in the lunch table, and you'll be able to identify those people. It'll help us with our community as well. So on your chairs or on the table in the back, everybody grab one, put the tattoo on. We'll all be tattooed for this week together. Sound like fun? Okay, does it sound like fun to more than 2 people? Okay, good. Well, God's blessings rest on us if we go about and seek Him first. If we seek His kingdom and His righteousness, the Bible says all these things will be added to us as well. So simplify your life in the spiritual, schedule, Sabbath, and stuff arena, and you will flourish. And God's people said, Amen. God bless you guys.